Hi, everyone. So I'm Chanel Peri, registered holistic nutritionist, um, a typical mom at home. I'm a wife, mom of two. My kids are 18 months apart. So life is busy. And today I want to talk to you about, as Dr. Jason said, how to stay sane and happy. It's busy. There's a lot in life to just keep track of on a regular basis, and throw down everything that we've been through in the last year, and things get hectic, and our ability to, or our capability to cope, gets challenged. So today I want to talk to you about staying sane, happy, and healthy. We're going to discuss energy levels. um, Sleep and stress precede all things um, to maintaining healthy energy levels. So we're going to talk about how to maintain energy levels, how a professional can help you obtain an individualized plan. We all have different needs. We all have different systems. So what may work for one person won't work for their brother, sister, cousin, friend. Everyone's different. So it's important to, I know a lot of people Google things and how, what workouts are good for this, or what diet is good for this. But unless you're seeing a professional and really breaking down your needs and what your body is going through, then you might not see the results than you would if you have that individualized assessment and plan. And then the basics for overcoming a mid-afternoon lull. Before I get started, I want to ask you all to reach for a piece of paper and a pen. That's going to come in handy a little bit later on, but I have some key words that I want you to write down and remember later on. So if you can just grab a piece of paper and pen, or even like on your phone or on your computer, just a little note, when we'll get to that a little bit later. So who here, if you want to, unmute your microphones or open up your cameras, like this is totally casual, feel very comfortable to do that. But who here has experienced that afternoon crash? So that point in the afternoon where you have no energy, you'd love to take a nap. You're sitting at your desk at work and it's like, lunch is over and your eyes start getting heavy and sleepy. And, you're just like staring at the screen. It's like, okay, instead of doing my work, I'll just check emails, clean up my email. Or at home, you have laundry waiting for you in the dryer to fold, or ironing to do, or, dinner to get started. And it's just like, oh, I'm so tired and sleepy. I don't want to do anything. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason that we feel that crash. You're not alone. We all feel that. And there's typical coping mechanisms that we all turn to. They're quick and easy, and they make us feel good for the moment. They tend to be quick pick-me-ups or means of procrastination, so that we don't have to use our energy to get into those activities that need completing. So what are a few quick pick-me-ups? Coffee. Coffee is number one. So many people, reach for that afternoon cup of coffee to give them a quick pick me up and a little energy boost, or sweets, chocolate, anything that's going to boost give you a little sugar rush, like boost your energy for the moment. But unfortunately, those are all short-term fixes. Cigarette break, for smokers out there, that afternoon is a perfect time to go outside, have a smoke, kind of de-stress. Something to do because you don't feel like working, because you don't have that focus. Chat with friends, you text or you call a friend, or you go over to your friend's office or cubicle and go talk to them, chat with your colleagues. Pop drinks, sugary drinks, have that can of Coke to give you a boost, or an energy drink, or what have you. If you're at home, you might nap. You might be sitting in front of the TV. Okay, yeah, I have my laundry next to me. I'm going to get to it. And you start focusing on the TV, and soon your eyes get tired, and you fall asleep. Or you end up watching TV, binging on Netflix or something, or surfing the internet or on Instagram, just scroll, 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 scroll. It's so easy to get caught up into that, especially if you're avoiding doing work. So some of these things can be health hazardous, especially if they're taking place on a daily basis. And we don't want that. We want to nip those bad habits in the bud. So we want to replace them with things that will sustain us, give us lasting energy, and of course, our healthy alternatives. So with that being said, I'm going to pull up my PowerPoint here. Oops. Bear with me. Oh, there we go. I don't know if Dr. Jason's still available. Dr. Jason, are you there?
Yes.
I just need you to give me permission to share my screen.
Sorry.
That's okay. I'm so new at this, so if it may even just be me not knowing.
Okay, you should be able to do that now.
Okay. Ah, there we go. Okay. So how to overcome the mid-afternoon lull. It's coming up right now. Okay. There we go. So 5 healthy alternatives for overcoming the mid-afternoon lull. So the first one, get a good night's rest. 7 to 8 hours minimum uninterrupted sleep. Hugely important. Like I said at the very beginning, stress and sleep are the two top things that if those aren't working well in your life, if you have high stress and low sleep, you can be eating right, you can be exercising, you can be doing all the other great things. But if you don't have stress control and if you don't have sound sleep, then it's almost like you're not doing any of those good things at all, because they're not going to be working cohesively and efficiently for your system. You can't get in a great workout if you're exhausted and you're lacking sleep. You can't digest and metabolize your food efficiently in the best way possible if you're stressed and your stomach's in knots and your digestive system is on red alert. So it's extremely important to get a good night's sleep. And here are some key ways of doing that. So try to avoid daytime sleeping, those daytime naps. And we're going to go through this, and I'm going to give you ways to boost that energy so that you won't feel like you need to crash in the afternoon and have that nap. Try to avoid large meals 2 hours before bed. It's hard to fall asleep when your stomach is heavy and your body's trying to digest your last meal. So you want to space it out and give your body some time before you fall asleep to have digested your food, so you don't have that heavy, indigestion, nauseous feeling. Avoid caffeine 4 to 6 hours before bed. So I know right now I'm not drinking coffee. I was when my daughter was about 6 months, because I was exhausted. I wasn't getting good night's rest, and I needed that caffeine to give me energy in the afternoon. So, but I found that my cutoff was 2:30. By 3:30, if I looked at the clock, it's 3:30. And I wanted a coffee, I would not let myself have it, because at that point it was too late. I'll be up all night. So my cutoff was 2:30. I would have coffee until then, and then not anymore, because I noticed that if I had it after 2:30, it would keep me up. So making sure that 4 to 6 hours before bed, no caffeine. Take a hot shower, a bath. That'll help relax your muscles, kind of mellow you. Get you like nice and warm and clean and cozy, and that'll help start the sleep process for your body. Your sleep environment is hugely essential. So you want to sleep in a dark, quiet room with a comfy temperature. You don't want to be too hot or too cold. And invest in quality bedding. So quality mattress, quality pillows. We spend so much of our lives asleep. I don't know what the exact ratio is at the moment, but I know that most of our our time, like a lot of our time is spent sleeping. I mean, if you're getting an 8-hour sleep every night, that's a quality amount of your life asleep. So you want to invest in things that are going to make you comfortable, help you have that sound sleep. So a good mattress and pillow. If it's been a while that you haven't got a new mattress, I suggest you look into that. Of course, no electronics in bed, phone, laptop, TV. Those things are just noise for your eyes, your ears, and your brain. And what we're doing is we're trying to settle those things. So you want to avoid having those items nearby. Aim to sleep. I think Dr. Jason mentioned this in his PowerPoint. Aim to sleep and wake at the same time every day. What that does is it causes your body to get into a cycle where each day it already knows, okay, now this is the time when I sleep, and your body starts, getting the systems ready for rest. Same thing with waking. If your body is used to waking every day at 6:30 a.m., as you continue to do that on a daily basis, your body's going to get used to that, and you'll notice that sometimes you'll even wake up before your alarm goes off. So it's very important to try and fall asleep and wake up at the same time every day. And listening to soothing sounds and music, or reading. There was a period of my life when I was, in my 20s, still at home. I had so much anxiety, and I found it really difficult to fall asleep at night. I just couldn't turn my brain off. And on the TV, on like Rogers Cable or something, there was a nature channel that it was just sounds of nature, like water and birds and trickling water and waterfalls and oceans and things like that. It would vary, but I would listen to that every single night to go to sleep, and it completely relaxed me. It's the only thing that helped me. And then even like when I was pregnant, or even shortly after having my kids, again, like your body's kind of on alert all the time, and there's so much anxiety and stress. So what I started doing was listening to a lot of Jack Johnson. I find his voice very calming, and his music is very mellow. He's from Hawaii. Same thing with Israel K. There's a song by him, and just relaxing music, whatever mellows you, just put it on a playlist and have it very quiet. You almost want to have to like really try to hear it, so that when you fall asleep, if it's still playing, it's not going to keep you awake. So that's important to note with listening to music to fall asleep. You just want to listen to it very, very low, like low volume. Okay, so next slide. Eat regularly. And again, I think Dr. Jason just mentioned this as well. And I mean, we're kind of repeating it because they're super important points and they help. So eating regularly, a balanced meal or snack every 2 to 3 hours. So the main thing here is what we're aiming to do is balance the blood sugar. When that blood sugar dips, that's when your body craves sugar, and you need that quick pick me up or that boost to kind of increase the sugar level so that you have that energy to burn. But if it's not a sustainable long-term source of energy, then that's when the crash happens again. So you crash, you have sugar, you crash. What we want to do is, if you're crashing, you have a good healthy meal or snack that's going to sustain your energy and keep you going. So protein, healthy fats, low glycemic carbs. This also ties into another slide at the end, which I'm going to kind of go back and forth between those two, but some ideas of balanced meals or snacks, of course, contain, like I said, protein, healthy fats, and low glycemic carbs. So you want to mix, like an apple with some peanut butter, or a banana with some nuts and seeds, or yogurt with some granola and nuts and some fruit. So just keeping everything balanced so that there's no spike. You have a sufficient energy source from your food. Okay. The next thing is staying hydrated. I'm so guilty of not staying hydrated. This is a struggle for me, drinking plenty of water throughout the day. And it's funny because dehydration can be mistaken for hunger. So a lot of times people will be like, oh, I'm so hungry, but really your body is just dehydrated and needs water. So especially if you're looking you're following like a weight loss plan, drink the water and see how you feel after. If you're still hungry for a snack, then have a healthy snack with protein, healthy fats, and low glycemic carbs. But try to maintain that water intake, or that fluid intake, so that your body doesn't become dehydrated. And when we're like, think of a plant. When you don't water a plant, what happens? The leaves start to wilt, they dry up. That's what happens to our insides, so to speak. We feel, wilted and like parched, and water is so essential for our cells. So what I try to do is, when I'm drinking water, I know it sounds a little bit silly, but when I'm drinking water, I try to visualize like my cells in my body taking in that water and filling up, and helping them to complete the processes that they need to. It's almost like an energy source for our cells. So making sure to maintain a healthy amount of water intake, especially if there's an increased amount of physical exertion. So if you're running around taking care of your kids, or if you're working out, or if you have a job that where you do physical labor, or if it's a hot day and you spent a lot of the day outside, you want to replenish those fluids, because we perspire and we exert ourselves, and we need to replenish that fluid. So staying hydrated is super important. And you'll notice that once you adopt some of these habits into your routine, into your life, your energy level is going to increase. I can tell you that. So the next one, move. Get up and walk or stretch for 60 seconds. I would say to do this probably about every hour if you can. And let's face it, especially if you're at work, we all take little breaks from typing or doing our work to scroll on our phone, or to make a phone call, or to text someone. Instead of doing that, instead of staying stagnant, staying at your desk, you want to get up and move. Let the blood circulate through your body. So instead of taking that mental break at your desk and, like I said, scrolling through your phone, you want to get up, walk, stretch your arms, your legs, your back, go outside and get some air, open a window, get some air. But yeah, allowing the blood to circulate. And you'll feel better that you did that movement, than just sitting at your desk for those 60 seconds and, like I said, checking email or seeing if there's a sale online or what have you. And it's the same idea, like if you think of a car, and let's say it's middle of the winter, the weather's bad, you're at home, you're off work or what have you, and your car is sitting in your garage or in your driveway for a week, and a mechanic will tell you, make sure to start your car every couple of days or every day, just start the engine, let it run, so that the fluids run through the engine and it doesn't dry up and cause problems. It's the same thing with us. We need to get the blood circulating, get our muscles and our joints moving. So we can't always just be still and our body's just sitting there stagnant. We need to get moving and kind of get the juices flowing. Okay, last one, eat protein. So essential to ensure each meal and snack includes a source of protein. This isn't difficult. A source of protein, if you're vegan or vegetarian, that doesn't mean, you have to have steak or chicken or what have you. There's so many plant-based sources of protein for those of you who are vegan or vegetarian. But yeah, protein is essential in helping you to maintain your energy levels. So typically we feel this afternoon dip if we don't consume enough protein at lunch, and especially if we consume too many carbs. So again, some alternatives. So there's, eggs, brown rice, quinoa, oats, yogurt, turkey, salmon, tuna. You want to have lean protein. So chicken breast, chickpeas, lentils, quinoa. Sorry, I said quinoa already. Yeah. So, and it's not hard to mix these things in with other foods for a snack. And then a naturopath or a nutritionist can help you develop a plan that works for you, that includes these foods and liquids and supplements and exercises and all these things that are going to help you maintain your energy in order to feel healthy and happy and balanced. And a nutritionist or a naturopath can help you take dietary restrictions into consideration when looking for, meals or snacks that contain protein, and will help you, elevate your energy levels. So that's pretty much that for the presentation. Okay. How's everybody holding up? Everyone good? Does anyone have any questions before I go on? I just have a little bit more, but do any of you have questions? Feel free to ask. Just seeing here. Okay. Okay. So,
Hi,
if you,
Chanel.
sorry?
Hi.
Hi.
Sorry. I wanted to ask about if you noticed, if you like skip breakfast, if you find that your energy is down the rest of the day.
Absolutely. I've been struggling. Let me just tell you what I've been struggling with for the last 3 weeks. Just after Christmas, when I stopped doing my daily smoothie bowls, so about a week into the new year, my blender broke. And I've been waiting for my new blender to arrive, but now Canada Post is having some issues with their location. So I'm still waiting for my blender to arrive, and I have not had my morning smoothie bowl for about 3 weeks, and it's killing me. I don't have the same energy that I did for the last 6 months that I've been doing my morning smoothie bowl that includes, my protein and my healthy fats and everything. So yeah, if I skip breakfast, first of all, I'm starving now that my body's used to it. But my energy levels aren't there and my focus isn't there. And I was actually thinking back to when we were kids and how we never had breakfast.
Oh.
I think it's so weird that we never had I would chew gum on the way to school. And I just I don't know why. I remember sometimes our mom used to tell us to eat something and I have a cereal, but then it would hurt my stomach because my body wasn't used to eating in the morning. I would feel sick. It would be,
Well,
I
we
guess,
probably also ate gluten a lot and we didn't realize
well,
that we can have it.
yeah, there was dairy and gluten. I mean, a bowl of cereal is just dairy and gluten.
Right.
But oh man, it's so strange. We need breakfast. I can't imagine not giving my kids breakfast. It's so important. But
I mean, a lot of
yeah,
that
so
is
definitely.
it's we know that now. I mean, I used to have a can of pop for lunch every day, and I mean, and forgive me,
Yeah,
my video cam, of course, it has to die.
no, that's okay.
But I mean,
No,
everyone can hear me, I suppose. I guess
yeah,
that's better. Um, so yeah, thank you, Chanel. Maybe we can have a dialogue about, and if anyone has any questions in the chat, by all means, you can use the chat to address us. Um, I think one thing that, and you know what, Maria is just, she wanted to contribute some information, and so I'm going to pass that on her behalf. Is a lot of the patients and clients coming in, I mean, it's a constellation of symptoms where blood sugar, what I call dysglycemia, it's just they can't maintain their energy during the day. And I mean, it's such an involved issue, and it goes into digestion and hormones and liver function and fertility and mood and energy production, and we get snippets in terms of what that person's coming in with, what they we start seeing different components of their their health, and in the back of my mind is this is dysglycemia. And
Yeah.
it's hard to kind of it sounds dismissive if I just tell a patient, it's like, yeah, you see blood sugar, you have poor blood sugar control. And they're going to be like, yeah, but I eat every 3 hours or every 2 hours, or I eat, like, they will have, what's so funny?
I'm sorry. Someone's just sending me a direct message and just telling me that they skipped breakfast.
Oh, well, I mean, but that's, I mean, that's the point. It's like,
Yeah.
we it's human nature to do these things, but then we start realizing that there's a cause and effect. It's like
Yeah,
every
totally.
time you skip a meal, you're telling your body, like, we're in hibernation mode. I don't know if there's ever going to be any food. Like,
Yeah,
it's not a
exactly.
logical thing, but our part of our brain doesn't know that.
And that's, I love that you brought that up, because that is like my go-to explanation to clients, that when they want to lose weight and they think that skipping a meal is going to help them lose weight, and it's like, no, that's how you tell your body to store whatever it eats as fat, because it thinks it needs to go into hibernation mode. Like, I'm getting this meal, I haven't had a meal in like 6 hours,
Right.
so I don't know what I'm going to eat again, I'm going to hold on to this. And it's like, that's how you set your body up in those bad routines, um, um, or bad habits, so that it kind of tricks your body into thinking, I got to store this food. And that's the opposite of what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, a lot of people, they'll be like, okay, so I really cut down on my fat consumption. I'm like, oh, okay. And they're like, well, I keep gaining weight. Like, I think there's such a, like, a disconnect with the, like, in education, but
Yeah.
it's also like, I think just the standard medical science isn't doing people a service, because they're like, okay, you know what? I have a lot of whole grains because I know that's part of the food guide. I'm like, that's why you're gaining weight.
Yeah.
And like, well, I try not to eat too much protein. I'm like, why? They're like, well, it's not good for you. It's like, where'd you hear that?
Yeah.
It's not true.
The food guide is, I
I'm
guess,
back.
oh
Different
yay.
camera.
That's
But
okay,
you
different
can see
view.
my microscope better now.
Perfect, it's a good background. The food guide is just that, it's a guide, um, to tell you what
The
categories.
guide to death. Let's
Well,
be honest.
essentially, if you don't know what you're doing, it's like anything, a guide to running a car. If you don't know what you're doing, you're going to cause issues.
Running a car.
You know what I mean? Like the car manual. Um,
You ever read one?
not like for fun, if I was looking to like fix something, but you have to have some sort of knowledge, and you have to understand what you're talking about and what you're working with and how it all works together.
Okay.
Like in like the medical field, they'll tell you like, yeah, these are healthy foods, these are unhealthy.
No, they
Well,
don't. In
why?
the medical field, they don't. The medical
Well,
field,
but that's what I'm
it's,
saying. Like they just say like, oh, this is healthy, that's not healthy. Oh, you know what? I have Coke
but they,
every
most of the
day.
time, they're wrong. Because what I mean,
Exactly.
they're telling you things that are like, well, this could cause, like, protein, animal protein can cause, it has high saturated fats and can lead to cardiovascular disease and cholesterol. And it's like, that's not exactly true.
No.
Like, you can have heart disease being a vegetarian. There's the
Exactly.
plant paradox, Dr. Gundry, and I love referencing him because he's a cardiologist that was finding that his patients that were vegetarian were dying as fast as the patients that were meat eaters. So it's like, well, what's
Right.
happening here? So what he was referring to was the lectins, and you're so funny.
I'm so not good at keeping it like a poker face.
Poker face. Okay. Anyway, so the lectins are, um, it's almost like a natural pesticide that, when the vegetable matter is still growing, and it's not harvested yet, it's meant to kind of protect the plant from being eaten, because it will kind of kill off, or it's not good for the insects or the bugs or whatever. But
Yeah.
then when it ripens, the lectins are, they kind of dissipate, and then it's like ready for us to eat. But all the food that we're eating is picked pre-ripened. So,
Exactly. Exactly.
okay.
Yeah.
I just want to say that.
Yeah. I'm so glad you did.
But I'm saying, like, I think that there is enough body of evidence that people are starting to be like, okay, what we thought was a regular diet, it isn't really, that's not how we should be eating. I mean,
I
so then the
think,
question is, how do you eat? What if people are watching, and we're going to record this and play this, and then hundreds of years from now, people are going to want to know what we thought about eating. Like, what do you think a proper meal is?
okay, so overall, like taking a step back, I truly believe everything in moderation. However, if you're trying to accomplish a certain goal,
Mm-hmm.
there are substitutes and there are sacrifices that you do need to make. But essentially, um, and if like the ideal meal would contain protein, a healthy amount of protein, um, healthy fats, and good quality carbs. And when I say good quality carbs, I mean vegetables would fall into that, but and whole, like you mentioned, whole grains, but like brown rice, quinoa, you know, and going back to everything in moderation. I'm not saying, take out bread, but are we going to have, a nice big hefty loaf of white bread? No, there's healthier alternatives,
So
right?
yes, but I mean, I'd like to address that. I mean, we can dissect everything that we're saying, and I mean, obviously, I mean, yes, we need to have that there's a right balance of protein, carbs, and fats, and every couple of years, that balance and that ratio is like being adjusted because like, oh, this person said this and this, and then we find that.
Right.
Um, I think what is interesting is, and the name of that show on Netflix is escaping me, but it was Zac Efron, and he's like kind of going around.
Oh, yes.
And then
I
when
know
he
what
went
you're talking about.
to what was it? It was Sardinia, where they have the people who like live the longest, the most
Yeah.
centenarians. And I mean, it's a Mediterranean diet, and
Yeah.
they have wheat, and they have cheese, and they have. But you
Yes.
know what? So there is an element of like, what's the quality of the food? How is it being produced and
That's what
manufactured?
I was, yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's
Okay. Well,
different
I
in
said it.
Europe. Yeah, no, but it's different in Europe, like the quality of the cheese or the bread,
It's
or like the
real
wheat.
food. I mean,
Yeah, it
here it's
doesn't
not.
have all the pesticides and all the hormones that our food here in North America does,
So the
unfortunately.
fact that we're here, I mean, we have to kind of do the best with what we got. And
Right.
so, I mean, if someone asked me like, okay, how should I eat? I'd be like, well, you can model the Mediterranean diet the best that you can.
Right.
And what I think most people currently in society, they need to reduce the simple carbs
Yes.
almost to zero,
Yeah.
because they're carbohydrates are great as a source of fuel and energy. If you are not physically active and your work is sedentary, you really don't need that much carbohydrate.
Right.
And even the fruit consumption, a lot of people have like, they'll be like, oh, I eat my 3-4 servings of fruit today, and I'm like, it's too much.
Yeah.
It's like, but why? It's healthy. So again, there's a lot of lack of knowledge in terms of, okay, something is healthy, but there's a healthy amount of healthy, as opposed
Right.
to like, you can just have
Exactly.
endless healthy food. It's like, well, that's not how things work. And if I tell someone like, I'd like for you to not to have dairy, and it's like, but what about the health benefits? I'm like, well, i'm
Calcium.
i'm weighing the benefits against the consequences. And if like,
Yeah.
dairy inherently is good, I'm not against people having dairy, but you just can't have the dairy here.
Yeah.
It's kind of confusing for
Sorry.
people. Why is that funny?
You said dairy here, but it sounded like you said you can't have dairy here.
This is a conference.
I know, but you know what? We're just talking like it's important to be casual and
But is it?
relax.
It's important.
Fine.
Okay, that's
Everyone
fine.
is
That's fine.
smiling right now. I know it.
No, I think everyone's kind of laughing. That's fine. Um, where was I? You know what? I think so. Food sensitivity testing has been something I really embrace, because I think that it gives such good information. Again, it's another way of having more individualized information. Like, these are your antibodies against these foods. This is not just me like saying, hey, you know what? I don't like dairy. You shouldn't have it. It's
Yeah.
like, you actually are like, say, like, look, you have on this bar graph, like, you're off the charts. You're 130 whatever units of sensitivity to casein. And I don't think that comes out of nowhere. I think, and a lot of people will say, like, well, is there one kind of specific diet that suits all of us? It's like, maybe not, not that it will cover everyone. I mean, everyone's so individual. Like
Yeah.
food sensitivities for me, the development, or there's a few factors, and stress is always the main initial factor. I mean, stress affects everyone. Stress doesn't go away, but we all have a weak spot. Each
Yeah.
person's their constitution. I mean, sometimes it's their digestion is their compromised area. Sometimes it's their cardiovascular, whatever it is. So if you have like you're in a chronic fight or flight, like you're always like, like life's busy, you got to work, you got this, you got kids, you got that, like, and you don't actually have like a mechanism or like a skill to unwind and like shut it down at some point in the day, you are going to always have digestive issues. If
Yeah.
you are inherently a worrier, if you think too much, if your mind doesn't rest, you will have issues with digestion because you are putting yourself in sympathetic state constantly. So if you're underproducing stomach acid, which is the result of that, you're not going to be breaking down the proteins in the food that you're consuming. And all food has protein component. And then when those undigested proteins are getting into the gut, which is now compromised because it's receiving food matter that's not properly broken down, you're getting an immunological reaction. Your antibodies and your immune cells are reacting to the food that you're eating. So now it's going to remember, it's like, hey, you know what? Last time I ate that, I didn't like it, and I don't like it now. So send out the army, send out the reaction, and then you're like, hey, you know what? Every time I eat this, now I'm starting to feel this, this, and that.
Yeah.
But
And
the
then
interesting
there
thing is when
come,
you have food sensitivities, and you're just you don't realize it, you're eating the same things frequently enough that you actually go into like a chronic state where you're not having this acute reaction. Your body's not saying like, oh, you shouldn't have that, and you have a symptom. Sometimes it's just the symptoms just kind of become muted or very
yeah.
subtle,
And
and then
that's the
you have a
scary thing.
it is
That's,
scary.
that's
Yeah, yeah,
scary when you don't have the symptoms, because you do have the inflammation in your system. And it's scary to think that at a later date it's going to show itself, and in what form. Like that's what scares me,
yeah. Well, the
right?
thing is, it comes out as a seemingly unrelated form. So someone
Yeah.
will come in with like they have rheumatoid arthritis. They're like, yeah, it's an autoimmune condition. I'm like, well, do you know how you got that? And they're like, well, it might be genetic because so and so my family had it. I'm like, well, you think maybe it's dietary triggered? It's like, well, no. My doctor said no, but I do notice that when I have a lot of like sugar, like I have a flare up. It's like,
Yeah.
well, you're seeing a correlation, and there's always other symptoms. I mean, picking on rheumatoid arthritis, they always have horrible digestive state. They always have like there's a chronic immune dysfunction. But then when it becomes a physical symptom and their joints are affected, it's not that it becomes a different disease or condition. It's just a progression of something that's been there for 20, 30 years. And they didn't recognize that it was it's part of it. It's like the tip of the iceberg. It's like, well, I have this now, I don't know where it came from. And or if you tell them, well, you can't eat these foods, and they're like, I've been eating them all my life, I never had an issue until now. It's like, well, there's always a threshold where you can kind of do damage, and it gets to a point where after a while it's like, okay, body can't handle it anymore.
Yeah.